What's up, y'all? What's going on? Welcome to the Tuesday night live stream. I'm back again after taking the week off. I have not been banned. But just so I don't hang anybody leave anybody hanging, I have started an email list. So I'll be putting out a weekly newsletter, pretty much letting y'all know when I'll be streaming, where I'll be streaming, what the topics will be about, as well as other content that I'm going to be putting out for y'all tuning in. So I'm going to diversify a little bit. I'm going to start migrating and doing my live streams over on YouTube. So the platform here has been a little wonky as of late, so it's time to hedge a little bit. Also, if I want to do more presentations, screen sharing, things like that, getting more into the roots, going over scientific studies, things of that nature, I need a bit more expansive features, so I'll be doing that. But y'all will get the heads up for when I do those streams, and you'll get them straight to your email. So you can hit the link in my bio and sign up for the Tribe newsletter. It's free. I'll be putting recipes in there, diet tips, my latest videos that I've posted, things like that. And when I'll be doing my next live stream, so those will be some valuable things that I'll be sending y'all there. So y'all can definitely jump in on that in the link on my bio. But in any case, welcome folks to the stream. Where you tuning in from? Where you from? Where you tuning in from? City, state, country, all of that. I don't have my tea today. Instead, I got chlorophyll water. So this black water here is chlorophyll. So I'm really loading up on the chlorophyll water today. Nice mic. I'm coming through clear. You hear me clearly? Nice. There you go. Welcome, folks. Anna, what's going on? Welcome. Good to see you in here. Big shout out to Charlotte, North Carolina. North Lauderdale, Florida. What's going on? Welcome. Big shout out to Kentucky, St. Lucia, Philly. What's going on? Welcome, y'all. Big shout out to you, Donnan. Tuning in from Raleigh. Big shout out to St. Louis. What's going on? Welcome, welcome. Welcome. Thank you for the Rosa, for the two Rosas and the Rose. Don Ann, appreciate you coming through with the love on the stream. What did I eat today? I can get a little bit into that and what I've been eating. Dallas, Texas. Big shout out to Dallas, Texas. VA, Massachusetts. Is it Massachusetts or is it Massachusetts? I get confused on how to say it sometimes. Houston, Texas, VA, what's going on? Welcome, folks. Mississippi, big shout out to you tuning in. I'm feeling a little more refreshed today. You know what I'm saying? I'm a bit obsessive, so I've been doing like 7 days a week streaming. 7 days a week, not streaming, but just working in general, whether it be doing calls, writing diet plans, putting together a new course where I'll be talking specifically about the most common chronic illnesses. So in the course currently, I got a module in there to fix insulin resistance, high blood pressure, and then after the high blood pressure one, I'll be doing one on hypothyroidism. I'll be putting in how to fix fibroids or how to shrink fibroids, things like that. So a lot of things I'll be loading into that course. So it's going to be a big deal. Recipes, supplement suggestions, etc. in that course. So. And when I'm finished with it and when it launches, y'all definitely will be getting an email on the details of that. But what I ate today, my oat pudding. So I'm taking a break from doing oat pudding. And instead what I'm doing is I'm taking my protein powder, I'm taking 4 tablespoons of flaxseed meal, a teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon, 2 tablespoons of raw cane sugar, a quarter teaspoon of sea salt, what else? PB Fit, cacao powder, all that stuff, right? And I'm putting in 8 ounces of milk and 8 ounces of water, and then I'm blending that up in my NutriBullet, and then I add rolled oats into it. Right, so I add a cup of rolled oats into it and mix it in, and then leave it in the fridge overnight. So I do that, and then I take it out the next morning, and what I'll do is I will put like a quarter cup of sunflower seed kernels on it. You can also add chopped fruit, berries, bananas, things like that into that as well. That's a pretty big filling meal. After that, a few bananas and like a cup of peanuts or cashews or something like that. And then after that, another fruit bowl with a couple apples, a couple cups of grapes, chopped raw bok choy, with a quarter cup of pumpkin seed kernels, roasted, salted pumpkin seed kernels, salted with sea salt. And that would pretty much cover it for the day, right? So that's pretty much what the eating plan is like, for example. Completely raw eating, so nothing cooked there. But for the days of like cooked foods, that's when I would put in like, you can make a bean dip actually. You can get black beans, right? Like cooked black beans. And then you can add like your sea salt, a little bit of tomato sauce or salsa, some curry, cumin, cayenne pepper, onion powder, things like that. You can season it up and then blend it up, and you can create like a bean dip, right? Or a bean sauce, right? So if you add water to it, you'll add kind of like a sauce consistency, and then you can pour that over salads, right? So you can have like spinach, spring mix, kale, raw diced onion, bell pepper. You can add pistachios, pumpkin seed kernels, hemp seeds, and mix that all in there. And then pour the bean sauce on top of it. And then mix in the sauce, and that'd be like your salad right there. And that'll be a high protein, high carb salad. Salad. So that's another good recipe to do. Pretty much you take all your favorite seasonings or like the taste that you want to replicate, and you can basically put it into a blender with black beans or chickpeas or cooked red lentils, anything like that, and blend it up and create either a dip or a sauce. If you want to make a dip, it's probably going to be like a thicker sauce, so you're probably not going to really add much water or anything to it. And if you want to add like more mono unsaturated fats, you can add like a little bit of avocado oil, right? Normally I don't really advise oil to be put in food, but the exception is if it's cold pressed oil and you're not cooking it. So like if you use the oil as a base for like lentil sauce or bean sauce or something like that, if you want to create, if you want to have like a certain texture to it, that's fine. Like if you want to create a dip or something, that's fine, just as long as you don't cook it under a high temperature. So yeah, another thing you can do too is you don't have to use oil. Instead, you can use avocado. So you can put beans, avocado, and your seasonings, right? If you wanted to make like a curry coconut sauce, so you wanted to put turmeric, curry, cumin, a little bit of coriander, sea salt, garlic, and then you add the beans and coconut milk, and you can create like a coconut curry sauce out of the beans and put that over your salad. So you can do that as well, right? And that's it, and then just mix that into your greens. And if you want something crunchy, well, that's what you got the raw greens for. You can add celery, you can add diced cucumber, right? Chopped cucumber. You can add sliced leeks. things like that, right? Onions, I mean, all that good stuff, right? You know, green onions, that type of thing. And you can get a really solid salad doing that. Valerie, thank you for the 7 roses. Appreciate you. Psalm 91, Psalm 23. Thank you for the rose. Appreciate you. Bean dip sounds so good. True, you could do bean dip and just eat carrots and celery, right? So, like, let's say if you had a diet plan, or if I wrote you a diet plan, and on that diet plan, it was like, you know, a cup or a cup and a half of beans, of black beans. You can just make the sauce out of a cup or a cup and a half of black beans, right? You get the celery and the carrots and just use it as a dip. And then whatever is left, you can use a spoon and eat the rest, or whatever you want to do, right? So you can do that as well. I'm excited to try it on my new plan with you. True. Heal and get a deal. I only ate fruit and veggies. I had so much energy, but now I'm super hungry. Yeah, your metabolism will definitely boost up, that's for sure. Please tell me you're starting people off with purging. A complete water fast. I don't know, purging doesn't sound too good. But no, I don't generally start everyone off with a water fast. No, I don't do that. Some people, depending on their current conditions, fasting can have a very negative effect on them. So I wouldn't make that recommendation for everyone straight across the board. It could work for certain people, but it really depends on the circumstance. A lot of people with chronic illnesses tend to have a mineral and or vitamin deficiency, and fasting can actually make that worse. So if you have a person where they've been chronically under eating, they're malnourished, so to speak, they're lacking magnesium, potassium, they're constipated, all this type of stuff, and then you put them through a fast, you can make it worse doing that. So I wouldn't just say for everybody they should just do a fast right out the gate before getting on any kind of new plan. Have you always been into fitness? To one degree or another. My professional life getting into health and wellness didn't start until I was like 18. I wanted to get into coaching, but for martial arts at 16. But then 18, I officially started in health and wellness, and then started as a personal trainer. And then gradually moved from just standard personal training to strength and conditioning. And then from strength and conditioning, I then got certified in corrective exercise. And then after that was performance enhancement. And now it's nutrition, or plant-based nutrition specifically. So I've had a bit of a journey, right? Just tacking on education and various skill sets and information. What do you know about menopause, weight, how to get rid of it? Gigi, what's going on? Welcome, good to see you in here. I wish I'd started early, but I'm ready now. Hey, look, it's, as long as you're ready now, that's what counts. Corrective exercise sounds amazing. Yo, seriously. Corrective exercise helped me big time. Because I had a lot of joint pain. I think combined with corrective exercise and a plant-based, like a whole food plant-based diet, I don't have any more joint pain. It's night and day. As far as menopause is concerned, what can I say about menopause and losing weight? It's a lot more difficult to shrink your waist when you've gone through menopause and lost a lot of your estrogen, because estrogen can actually help you to keep off visceral fat from your midsection, right? So like the reason why women tend to have a smaller waistline than men is because on average women have 10% less visceral fat around their midsection than men do. So, like, if you notice, like, as a woman gets older and goes through menopause, you don't really have that tapered waist you used to, and you retain more body fat around the waist, right? And that's similar to what men do, because, of the estrogen imbalance. So, the best thing you can do, really, is to eat in a way that is the most conducive to keeping your hormones balanced as they are, right? Generally speaking, when I talk to women in their 20s, 30s, or whatever the case is, my whole thing is like, look, stress management and eating to maintain a healthy balance on your hormones is counts the most when you're in your 20s and 30s. Because depending on how well you've managed your stress when you were younger, that will determine when and how you go into menopause. Now, there's some people, I've heard some stuff about like hormone replacement therapy, where some women who have gone through menopause will then go through hormone replacement therapy. Men do this too, testosterone replacement therapy, right? For women, it's estrogen replacement therapy. I'm not well versed on that whole thing, but it may be something that you'd want to get educated in if you want to optimize your hormones in that way. But generally speaking, for menopause, there's things that would help, like exercise, stress management, a high raw or raw vegan diet, breathing exercises, herbal teas, whether it be hibiscus tea, black cohosh, rose hips, things like that will help. So, yeah, I'd probably say herbal teas, diet, things like that would probably help the most as far as losing weight, right? Is eating by your blood type important? I'm actually going to do a video on eating for your blood type because people ask me about that a lot. Can you touch on how a drop in estrogen affects blood sugar? Yeah, I can get into that. But yeah, eating for your blood type, there is no scientific data that really demonstrates that that's a thing, right? Like the eating for your blood type is a thing that yields any kind of significant results. There just hasn't been any evidence for it. It doesn't really seem like it matters that your blood type really has an effect on what you should eat. And the reason for that is because, first of all, foods don't have a blood type, right? So there's not going to be an incompatibility issue. So generally speaking, the only time your blood type matters is for organ donations, transplants, and blood transfusions, right? That type of thing. Because those things do have their own DNA and blood type. And so then you run into a compatibility issue if they're not aligned, right? But you're better off eating for your species rather than for your blood type, right? So species seems to make the most difference on the foods that you eat rather than what your blood type is. Oh yeah, so estrogen, right? How can you touch on how a drop in estrogen affects blood sugar? So it's very circumstantial. It depends on person to person, but estrogen is a hedge against stress, right? So estrogen is kind of like a stress hormone in the fact that estrogen is a protective mechanism in your body, or a protective hormone in your body, or group of hormones, I should say, that help you deal with stress better, right? This is also a part of the reason why women have a longer lifespan than men do. Women have less heart disease, for example, than men do. So when it comes to blood sugar, spikes in blood sugar in particular, or insulin resistance, that's a lot of the times it's a stress issue. Pretty much all the time it's a stress issue. So estrogen, if you have a lack of estrogen, you can be not as equipped to deal with stress. Therefore, the side effect can be having higher blood sugar, right? So there's a correlative issue, right? More stress means higher blood sugar for people who are insulin resistant. So what happens is cortisol goes up. Cortisol breaks down fat, converts it into free glucose, dumps it into your bloodstream. Blood sugar goes up, right? Estrogen is a hedge against cortisol. So in order for your cortisol levels to come down and be balanced out, estrogen production then increases to offset the cortisol and bring it down. So they have this inverse correlation, right? So as the estrogen climbs up, cortisol can come down, right? And then and that could have a positive effect on your blood sugar. To what degree, it's not really quite clear. It seems to range from person to person, right? But that's generally the correlation there on how that works. Is this about the fiber? What's about the fiber? I don't know if I missed something there. But yeah, so, sexual health, hormonal health, that type of stuff is extremely important for human wellness in general, because your sex hormones pretty much dictate every aspect of your life, right? All of your hormones are so intrinsically linked to each other, right? To the point where when one increases, the other decreases. So, for example, for a woman gets most of her testosterone, or pretty much all of her testosterone, from the adrenal glands. If you experience adrenal fatigue, that can negatively affect your body's ability to, build muscle mass. In addition to that, if a woman, if you lose estrogen production, this can cause osteoporosis. This can cause various degenerative bone diseases. Because estrogen is actually beneficial for creating bone density or promoting bone density. You actually need estrogen to have strong bones, right? Particularly and especially as a woman, right? So it's one of those things where estrogen has so many different effects on the body, right? It affects pretty much every process in your body. But it's largely a protective thing, right? So it dictates fat storage, it dictates your immune system. So having a drop in your estrogen can very negatively impact your immune system, your bone density, your mood. A drop in estrogen can cause chronic anxiety and depression swings, things like this, right? Now, if we're going to have a meaningful conversation about estrogen or women's health, right, it's very important to talk about what foods in particular are very damaging. And that's going to be foods that unnaturally increase your body's estrogen level. So if you consume mammalian estrogen, this will throw off your body's natural ability to produce estrogen. It's kind of like, as a man, if you go on steroids and you take testosterone, that can negatively impede your body's natural ability to produce testosterone, right? So what happens is it can reduce your testosterone production later on in your life. So if you come off of the steroids, it's going to be more prominent than it previously would have been. A similar thing happens for women. So one of the primary culprits, one of the worst foods for a woman is dairy, right? Milk, cheese, butter, that kind of thing. Because now, in order for a cow to produce dairy, they have to be pregnant, which means you're going to get a lot more estrogen dumped into the dairy, right? So you're going to get growth hormone and you're going to get estrogen and all of this type of stuff to grow, a 1,000-pound calf, right? And so basically that will throw off your hormones and make you gain weight, right? So this is one of the primary drivers of the obesity epidemic in our country now is dairy, actually. Dairy is like a primary driver of endometriosis, diabetes type 1 and 2, fibroids, hypothyroidism, hyperthyroidism, right? All this type of stuff. And it all comes down to the displacement of your natural hormone balance, right? With your hormones, you don't want to increase them or decrease them in general. What you want to do is have enough. You want to have the right balance in proportion to all of your other hormones because they move together. So if you increase estrogen, that will drive down other hormones like testosterone, right? You drive up cortisol, it drives down adrenaline, right? And you get burned out really quickly. But yeah, dairy, right? Another one would be like meat in general, whether it be chicken. Chicken breast is actually extremely high in estrogen. And when that chicken breast is sourced from female chickens that are especially loaded up with all type of antibiotics and growth hormones, and then they're eating all types of cheap foods loaded up with all kinds of pesticides, all of that is going to make its way into the meat and then make its way into your diet. People talk about pesticides a lot when it comes to like buying produce from the store, but most of the pesticides is going to end up in your diet from eating animal products, right? And the reason for that is because those pesticides accumulate inside the bodies of these animals throughout their entire life experience, right? And they develop all of this mass, this body mass, and you're getting all of that in your diet when you're eating animal products year after year after year for decades. So you're getting all kinds of antibiotics, you're getting all kinds of estrogens, you're getting all types of environmental contaminants, heavy metals, growth hormone, etc. Right? IGF-1, which is insulin growth factor 1, for example, you'd be getting an abundance of that. And so these are things that are primary drivers of the obesity epidemic, right? And diet is a zero-sum game. So when you think about diet, you can't just think about the things that you're eating. You also have to think about what you're not eating. Because every food choice you make is a food choice that you didn't make. So for example, if you have a choice between eating one thing, if you pick one thing, that there's another thing that you're not picking. So what I mean by that is if you decide, hey, I am going to eat a minimum of 5 servings of fruit a day. By doing that, there is going to be another food that you normally eat that you now eat less of as a result of you choosing to eat something else. Because your diet is pie. It's a percentage, and the maximum percentage is 100% of that pie. So if you decide that you're going to increase the portion of one thing, you by default have to reduce the portion of something else, right? So this is what I mean by every food choice you make also doubles as a food choice you didn't make, right? So a big part of my methodology is process of elimination via addition, meaning I don't tell you don't eat this. What I do tell you is eat more of this, and the other stuff falls off of your diet. So I make a diet plan, and it's going to be completely plant-based, and it's going to be filling and tasty and all of that type of stuff. And it's going to be filling enough, and it's going to be tasting enough where it knocks off of your food cravings for other things. Right? And that's pretty much how it works. So when I create a plan for people, it's not very often that people have like these insurmountable food cravings because the food's very filling and it's very abundant. And one thing I focus on is not calories in, calories out. The thing that I tend to focus on is micronutrient balance. So we want to maximize potassium, magnesium. We want to maximize manganese, iron, copper, B vitamins, chromium, zinc, right? Maximizing all these different minerals, right? Maximizing vitamin C, vitamin E, K, right? All of this type of stuff. Having a more nuanced approach, right? So rather than engaging in an austerity, which develops a poor relationship with food, because if you got to cut, and you're always hungry and tired because you're cutting all of your food intake because you're trying to lose weight, you develop a very poor relationship with food as a result of that. So you may successfully lose weight, but it comes at a cost, right? I tell people, if you wanted to lose weight as fast as possible, go on a 20 to 30 day fast, meaning you don't eat for 20 days. You will lose weight. You'll drop weight. You definitely will. I guarantee you'll lose weight. It'll be a miserable experience, but you can. The thing is, when the fast ends and you start eating again, you're now back on the roller coaster, and then you now come back to a relationship with food that was worse than it was before. Right? It's kind of like when people have been chronically going through sleep deprivation and they get back to a healthy sleep pattern, they start trying to make up for all the sleep they lost before. Right? And sleep doesn't work that way. You can't make up for sleep you weren't getting in the past. It doesn't work that way. You don't have like a sleep bank, right? Where it's like, oh, I'm only gonna be able to sleep for 4 hours tomorrow, so I'm gonna sleep an extra 4 hours today to make up for the 8. It doesn't work that way, right? Now, when people are obese, meaning they got to lose 100 pounds, 80 pounds, 70 pounds, it's not because they're eating too many calories. It's from a mineral deficiency, a vitamin deficiency. And those deficiencies are usually B vitamins, B1, B6, B9, or B1 through 9, B12. Magnesium is a big one. The most prevalent deficiency is magnesium. Potassium, chromium, zinc, vitamin D, these types of things, right? People end up having these deficiencies, right? And so when you start adding more magnesium to your diet, your insulin resistance reverses and you're easier to lose weight. You have more energy, right? You can tell that overeating is not your problem, because if you're overweight and you're always tired, that goes to show that the problem is not that you're eating too much. The problem is that your body isn't able to metabolize glucose and fat and use it for energy. It's a metabolism problem. And the only way you correct your metabolism is by mineralizing your body, not by cutting your food intake. So one of the biggest mistakes that people make when it comes to weight loss is misdiagnosing the problem. Right? So 75% of people, at least, fail at weight loss. And the reason for that is the misdiagnosis of the problem. Now, if a calorie deficit, if you were just overeating, then sure, cutting calories would be a solution. But for most people, it's poisoning. Obesity, the primary reason for obesity is food poisoning, not overeating. It's food poisoning, right? So year after year, for decades, getting excess estrogen, excess IGF-1, excess saturated fat and cholesterol, excess ectopic fat storage in your cells of your organs, right? Chronic vascular constriction as a result of inflammation, right? A perpetual magnesium deficiency that gets progressively worse over time, which is the big one. And I talk about magnesium a lot, and the reason why I talk about magnesium a lot with people is because magnesium, there's two problems. Number one, you're not getting enough in your diet. Number two, there's too many facets of your life that are depleting your magnesium level. So what I mean by this is you get spinach. Spinach is high in magnesium. It's great. You go, I'm going to eat more spinach, and I'm going to get more magnesium in my diet. And you take that magnesium and you cook it. So you cook the magnesium and you eat you cook the spinach thinking, oh, I'm getting spinach. This is a healthy food. But the problem is that after you've cooked it, you've lost 80% of the magnesium that was in the spinach. And then you do that repeatedly, not realizing that you're getting a food rich in magnesium and then cooking all of the magnesium out of it, right? And then let's say, you're eating eggs, bacon, you're doing dairy, meat, all this type of stuff, right? In order for your body to metabolize these things and be able to convert them into glucose that your cells then use to create ATP to power your cells, that requires magnesium. Your body actually has to use magnesium. Magnesium is a currency, right? It's kind of like You can have a bank account, but in order to spend the money, you got to have like a debit card, right? And you swipe the card, and that's how you can spend money. If you go to the store and you swipe your card, but the strip on the card and the chip on the card is damaged, then the card doesn't work. Therefore, you can't spend the money, which means that you can't buy the goods you need to buy because that card doesn't work. That's how magnesium deficiency works. It's like the debit card. So you can have body fat and you can eat food and you can have all of this potential energy that you can use for energy. But if you don't have the magnesium, then you can't use it. Right? What was it? The connection? What if your magnesium isn't low? Well, I mean, if your magnesium isn't low, then this wouldn't necessarily be your problem. But I'm specifically talking about magnesium being low. You can more or less tell that you're magnesium deficient if you're struggling to lose weight and you're always exhausted and you sleep poorly. Those are some of the big ways to tell. Also, you can tell you're magnesium deficient if you have high blood pressure. That's another good sign that you can tell you're magnesium deficient. If you are insulin resistant or just straight up type 2 diabetic, that's another way to tell that you are magnesium deficient. Now you have magnesium deficiency is kind of works on two ways, right? So you have serum magnesium or serum levels, which is in your blood, and then you have minerals stored inside your bones. If the serum level drops too low, the mineral is leached out of your bones, right? This is what contributes to degenerative bone disease. Degenerative bone disease is a result of a perpetual mineral deficiency that sucks calcium and magnesium and iron and copper out of your bones, and this weakens your bones because these serum levels of these minerals are too low. And so in order for these minerals to get into your cells and work and all of that type of stuff, it's got to pull it from somewhere. And mineral reserves are in your muscle tissue and in your bones. So you can tell this is happening when you have arthritis, degenerative bone disease, neuropathy, tingling in the hands and feet, numbness, things like that. That the neuropathy is also a sign of magnesium deficiency. Now, magnesium deficiency also often is paired with B vitamin deficiency. So if you have a magnesium deficiency, you more than likely also have a B vitamin deficiency. They're kind of like a package deal, right? Which is why I think that if you're trying to lose weight or whatever, one of the best things that you can do is have a magnesium supplement and a B vitamin, like a B complex, like a liquid B complex supplement. Those are like two of the best suggestions that I can make. If you wanted to compound it, then I would say chromium and vitamin D in the morning, and then zinc magnesium at night, right? And you can do B complex, liquid B complex in the morning as well. All right. So those are the kind of supplementations that would be really good to fix your problem and help you to lose more weight and have higher energy and all that. Because in order to be able to tap into your energy reserves and use your food for energy, you need B vitamins and magnesium, right? And those are like in all of the people that I've worked with overweight, the ones that struggle to lose weight the most are over the age of 45. It's very easy for people in their 20s and 30s and even early 40s to lose weight. Once you get over 45, you start getting into 50 years old, it becomes a lot more difficult because you now have to come back to baseline, which means that before you even think about getting shredded and all lean and all this type of stuff, you got to balance your hormones and mineralize your body first to even be able to lose the weight. Right? So there's a lot of work to be done to come out of a deficit and get back on the right track. Can I repeat that? Can I repeat what? What's your question also? Is taking liquid magnesium supplement good? Well, generally speaking, yes, right? So the magnesium, my top magnesium that I often recommend is magnesium glycinate, because people with magnesium deficiency often have poor sleep quality, and magnesium paired with glycine, which is magnesium glycinate, is very good for improving sleep quality, right? On average, if you have a magnesium deficiency and you struggle with sleep, the best thing that you can do is make sure that you're getting 420 milligrams of magnesium a day. You can get half of it from your food and you get half of it from supplementation, right? And so basically you supplement with the magnesium at night before bed, the magnesium glycinate. If you're dealing with constipation, magnesium citrate is very good for loosening up your bowels and allowing you to basically use the bathroom, no problem. A natural laxative would be bananas or kiwis, right? Bananas particularly are very good for constipation because bananas are very high in magnesium, as well as potassium and whatnot also, which is important for loosening up your bowels, right? So the form that you get, magnesium citrate is really cheap and easy to get. It's very cheap. Magnesium glycinate is going to be a bit more expensive, but it's really good stuff, especially if you get like a high quality one. My doctor won't tell me that, but I have all those problems. Oh, your doctor won't tell you that, but you have all those problems. Oh. Which magnesium do you take for high blood pressure? Any type of chelated magnesium will help with blood pressure. So magnesium glycinate, magnesium taurate, magnesium threonate, magnesium citrate. What else? There's other ones that I'm blanking on and not mentioned right now. But those are the ones that come top of mind right now. I believe too magnesium sulfate, if I'm not mistaken. Got a new account. Glad I found you. Well, thank you for tuning in. Much appreciated. Repeat the type of vitamin to take. Oh, the vitamins, B vitamins, so B complex. So it should be B1 through 9 and B12. B vitamins, B complex is something everybody should be taking, I think, in my opinion. The reason why B vitamins are so important, especially to supplement, especially with B12, our water, for the most part, is desalinated, meaning that the water is stripped of all of its minerals and whatnot. So normally, naturally, human beings should be able to get a lot of magnesium from fresh water drinking sources. But our water is stripped of all of its mineral contents, right? So like when people talk about alkaline water, what they're really talking about is mineralized water, mineralized groundwater, right? From fresh water drinking sources. And that's water that is pretty much filtered through the earth and mineralized, and it comes out as alkaline water, right? And that serves as an abundant source of magnesium, right? This is also the reason why sea vegetables are so rich in magnesium, right? So people talk about sea moss. Sea moss is incredibly rich in magnesium because it grows in the perfect environment. It's got a ton of sun exposure, and it's exposed to all of the minerals in the ocean, right? So the salt in the water opens up the cells of the plant, and so it can receive all this magnesium and minerals and whatnot, all the trace minerals from the ocean, right? And it goes into these plants, and then it gets to grow huge from the perfect amount of O2, right? Oxygen and sun exposure and all that type of stuff, right? So you get everything from it because it's in the perfect environment. As a matter of fact, most of our oxygen comes from the ocean, right? By the way, if you want to know why when people go on vacation and they tend to want to go to the beach, and the beach is this wonderful place that's like, oh man, I'm so glad I went to the beach, it's so relaxing, blah, 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 is because when you go to the beach, you take your shoes off, you go into a bathing suit, and you go in the ocean water, you basically ground yourself and you absorb all of the minerals. So all these trace minerals and whatnot from the water gets absorbed into your pores and into your body. And then you get all this sun exposure, which ramps up vitamin D synthesis. And so you got vitamin D synthesis and mineralizing your body with the sand and the minerals from the water. And that's why it's a healing experience to go to the beach and get in the water. Right? So that's why that works. So everything really comes down to mineral balance. And your minerals are the backbone of your DNA. So without the minerals, everything falls apart. Right? We are carbon life forms. We're made of minerals, like entirely. The organic materials only work and come together to form us with the underlying substrate of minerals, right? And so when you understand that, then you start to understand the importance of your food choices. So something like a raw vegan diet, why is it so beneficial? Why is it so healing? It's because you're basically getting all of the best food choices to mineralize your body, right? So when I say a diet that is rich in, you just straight up fruits, leafy greens, nuts, and seeds, you can mineralize your body in an incredible way because of that. Because these are the most mineral-rich foods. When you compare caloric value and mineral balance of these foods, it's the biggest bang for your buck. It's essentially like getting, your minerals on sale. Because a raw vegan diet is very low calorie, but very mineral rich. And the thing is that being that you don't have to cook the foods, you don't risk destroying a lot of the minerals under the thermogenic cooking process. Right? When a food is raw, it's not as susceptible to oxidation. Oxidation destroys minerals, right? So if I had to give you an example of this, look at iron and rust. Rust is a result of the oxidation of iron. And rusted metal, it becomes weak and very easily breaks as a result, because the mineral balance of the iron is being broken down under oxidative stress. That oxidative stress happens inside your body, right? And this is where your cells get damaged and your health declines, etc. Because the minerals, they fall apart. It's kind of like rust, right? It starts to chip, the iron chips away and it gets all corroded and just falls apart, right? Your body happens the same way. Ashy skin, cracking, wrinkles, deteriorating bones, hair falling out, losing your eyebrows, weak fingernails, all this type of stuff. That's a result of poor mineral balance and oxidative stress. So when you have a diet that's not susceptible to that oxidation because you're not processing it, the moment you start processing a food, it starts getting oxidized, like immediately, right? So I give you an example. You can eat peanuts in a shell, and then you can have peanut butter. The mineral balance is much more beneficial from eating the peanuts rather than the peanut butter. You can get fat from eating peanut butter. You can't really get fat from eating peanuts, right? Well, what's the difference? It's because in order to turn peanuts into peanut butter, you have to break it down, make it creamy, and it takes time to do that. And the longer it goes through that process, the more oxidative stress you accumulate. Right? So that processing time is oxidation time. So the cost of the trade-off is an increase in oxidation. This is also kind of the reason why, like, the difference between oat pudding and overnight oats is the fact with the oat pudding, I was blending the crap out of the rolled oats and turning it into more of like a creamy pudding texture. But then as you do that, you're oxidizing the oats, right? But if you put the oats in whole and you just let the liquid from the milk and all of that seep into the oats, it loosens it up, but it still keeps its structure, so it's not as oxidized. So you preserve the nutrients in a more effective way doing that, right? So massive game changer. So raw foods, you'll be able to get way more of a mineral balance from raw foods as a result, right? So whole fruits, whole vegetables, whole nuts, whole seeds, whole foods. You can have a cooked meal and you'll still get a lot of nutrients from a cooked meal. But if you do a cooked meal, the only foods you really need to cook are legumes, right? Because we can't be eating raw beans, we can't be eating raw rice, and we shouldn't be eating raw potatoes either, right? So those things should be cooked. You don't have to cook the crap out of them to the point where they're soft and mushy, but you want to cook them enough to loosen them up and soften them up enough in order for them to be edible. Right. Let's see. Yeah, yeah. Is streaming, is steaming your leafy greens okay, or does that destroy the value? It depends on how long you steam it for. If you steam it for a little bit, just to loosen it up, it's fine. But the more you steam it and the softer it gets, the more oxidation it goes through. Guess the microwave. I don't really particularly use a microwave. Oh, by the way, folks, double tap the screen to like the stream. Remsen, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't tree nuts a very good source of magnesium and copper? Yes. As tree nuts and seeds are an extremely prominent source of magnesium. You can get, what is it, like, for every ounce of peanuts is like 50 milligrams of magnesium. So 1 cup of peanuts is like 200 milligrams of magnesium. Your total goal for magnesium per day is like 420. You can get half of it in a cup of peanuts. That's incredible, right? Pumpkin seed kernels. Pumpkin seed kernels are a phenomenal source of magnesium. Also, omega-3 essential fatty acids. Peanuts, if you are anemic, one of the best things you can do is eat peanuts. Because peanuts are really, really, really rich in iron and copper, as well as zinc. Perfect for building red blood cells. Perfect for raising your ferritin levels, right? I'm not talking about nut butters. I'm talking about peanuts, right? Big time sources of iron, copper, and zinc. I would have a habit where I would go, before I would go to bed at night, I would eat like 2 cups of peanuts, roasted, right, in a shell, and sleep like a baby, like you wouldn't believe. Crazy good sleep. Some of the best sleep I've ever got in my life. Sleep hard, right? Because of the magnesium, zinc, and iron and copper. Essentially, it's like a sleep aid, really, right? But what I like to do is diversify. So I won't get it all from peanuts. So I'll do like a quarter cup of sunflower seed kernels, which is also high in that stuff. A quarter cup of pumpkin seed kernels, which is also high in that stuff. Half a cup of peanuts, half a cup of cashews, like 4 to 6 bananas, 4 kiwis, a few cups of grapes. And eating like that is phenomenal for your blood quality and your immune system. Eating like that, that'll dig you out of anemia real quick. If you want to mineralize your body, that's a great strategy right there for sure. So fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. Some people are like, well, can I do rice, or can I do quinoa, or can I do potato? You can do that stuff, but you don't need to. You could be completely like 100% raw and just do fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. Right? So you get a salad, and it's just, the only thing I would say is people are like, well, what about taste? I want something warm. Do the bean dip. Do the bean sauce or the lentil sauce. Right? But in my opinion, in my experience, the best and only foods you really need is fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, and that legume sauce, that lentil or bean sauce, so that you get the herbs and spices in, right? So you get the herbs and spices in that lentil or bean sauce, and you can put that over salads and stuff. That's all you need right there. Gut health issues, though. And now we add a little bit of nuance. Let's say you experience a lot of gas, bloating, constipation, cramps. You have a history of taking antibiotics. You've went through some vicious infections, right? Whether it be anything from SIBO to meningitis, whatever the case is, right? Nasty infections, and you took a crazy bout of antibiotics, right? And the antibiotics obliterate gut health like you wouldn't believe. If that's you, one of the best things that you can do is coconut yogurt, a cup of sauerkraut a day, or kimchi, or pickles. And I'm talking about the sauerkraut with the sauerkraut juice. I'm talking the pickles with the pickle juice. I'm talking the kimchi with the juice. And the coconut yogurt, and you load up the coconut yogurt with chia seeds and walnuts and blueberries and strawberries or goji berries and sliced banana and stuff like that, right? And that's how you start really rebuilding your gut health. Right? Folks, double tap the screen to like the stream if you find this stuff that I'm talking about to be valuable. I hope this is valuable. I hope this is game-changing stuff here tonight. I wonder if people with hemochromatosis should limit peanuts. The answer, generally speaking, is no. And the reason for that is because peanuts are also very rich in fiber, which serve as a stopgap so that you're not absorbing too much iron and copper. When someone has hemochromatosis, what's generally happening is they're getting it from an excess consumption of heme iron. Iron is very, very, very tightly regulated by the human digestive tract, right? So it's very difficult to overeat iron or to overabsorb iron unless you're getting it from organic sources like meat. Because the fiber will bind to excess amounts of it and it'll be purged from your body through the digestive process, right? So that's the thing. With people with the hemochromatosis, it's basically a result of just an excess accumulation of heme iron in the liver, right? And you've even I've seen people talk about this. A lot of keto and carnivore people talk about this. Oh, I have high testosterone but low free testosterone, and I couldn't figure out why. And then later they found out, oh, that's because they have an excess level of iron built up. And so they were like, oh, so I went to a doctor and they had blood drawn. So they lowered the amount of iron in their body by removing blood from their body. And so then when they have less blood in their body from drawing all this blood out of their body, their liver then empties more iron into their bloodstream in order to pick their blood levels back up. And that's how they counteract that issue. Now, they could also fix that issue by just not eating the heme iron, right? But if you have a religious adherence to eating meat, well then I guess you just got to get blood sucked out of you periodically. Women don't really have this problem because you have a menstrual cycle. However, men do. And too much iron can have a very negative impact on men because if your iron levels are too high, that binds to free testosterone and lowers free testosterone. So you can present as a man with low testosterone as a result. And people don't talk about this that much, and it's a serious problem because we are seeing an extraordinary decline in testosterone. So we talk a lot, especially with my audience here, we talk a lot about menopause, right? Because when it comes to, once you get over like 45 years old, 50, 55, 60, right, you start really getting into menopause, right? You start getting in through there. Men are starting to see a decline in testosterone in their 30s, 20s, right? Low testosterone is extremely prevalent among men. Now, I wouldn't say most, but probably like half of all men over the age of 40 have low testosterone and erectile dysfunction. It's insanely problematic. It's really, really high. And it's underreported. So you got a lot of men, they got low testosterone and they got erectile dysfunction. They don't talk about it. Because it's like, there's like a degree of shame to it, right? You can call it toxic masculinity or whatever the case is. Because women don't have no problem talking about, my estrogen fell off a cliff. I need to fix this. But like men will kind of like not really talk about it. And it's a serious problem. And the thing is that there are so many things that lower a man's testosterone. Environmental contamination, excess saturated fat in the diet, excess heme iron, right? A lot of the diet is killing men's testosterone. And you're seeing a decline in men's fertility and all this type of stuff, etc. And a lot of it is related to meat consumption, specifically even dairy consumption is even worse. The dairy is actually worse than the meat when it comes to testosterone levels. The meat becomes a problem because of the inflammation and the excess iron. And the thing is, excess iron becomes really problematic because it is a catalyst for cancer. Because iron, if you build up a lot of iron in your body, iron is very susceptible to oxidation. And then we pivot back to the image of iron, rust, right? The oxidized iron, right? So iron oxidation happening inside the body becomes poisonous, and it can wreak absolute havoc on your body. It can completely destroy your liver, your gallbladder, pretty much any organs, right? It can have it can erode your arteries, your vascular system. It can develop coronary heart disease, all types of stuff, right? But it really, really negatively affects the liver specifically because a lot of that oxidation of iron happens inside your liver. And so then when you have a high level of cholesterol consumption and you have a high level of saturated fat consumption, well, now you're having saturated fat oxidation and cholesterol oxidation, which is driving up LDL, which is now contributing to atherosclerotic plaque. And this is where we really start to see a prominence of erectile dysfunction kicking in, right? And erectile dysfunction is the canary in the coal mine when it comes to heart disease, right? So if that's a thing that you're dealing with, heart attack is right around the corner. Not to freak anybody out, but pay attention because that's a sign, right? High blood pressure is a sign. That erectile dysfunction, that's a real sign. That's something to take very seriously. So that's a cardiovascular issue, right? It's not just a low testosterone issue. Because if you have poor vascular health, that will also drive down your testosterone as well. Let me catch up with y'all in these comments here. I read that too. High heme iron can lead to increased risk of cancer. Yep. Can you speak a little bit on why a woman's body goes through so many issues after a hysterectomy? So hysterectomies are a brutal thing. One of the best things that I can tell women is do whatever you can to avoid having a hysterectomy. Okay. If you are consuming dairy, avoid it like the plague. You have no business as a woman touching dairy at all. Period. Full stop. The thing is, when you get a hysterectomy, you're pretty much removing a large part of your hormonal system, right? Your uterus governs your entire hormonal system, or co-governs your entire hormonal system in a major way. It's tied into everything. What's happening in your uterus affects everything. Your pituitary gland, your thyroid, liver, pancreas, all of it. Brain chemistry, everything. Right? It's your uterus. Everything in a woman's body is a result of what's going on in the uterus. Right? So caring for your womb is paramount. So like one of the best things, or the best thing I would probably say for a woman to do, is go raw vegan, or at least high raw vegan. According to the scientific data, that's one of the best things you can do. If you wanted to lower your risk of breast cancer, fibroids, I just had it. What's the thing? Endometriosis, yes. Because endometriosis essentially is where you have a shedding of your uterine lining, but if those cells trickle up into your body, they end up getting embedded in your gut, and then they start thickening and tightening up and calcifying your digestive tract and your stomach, and that's where that pain comes from, right? So ensuring your body's ability to flush out waste, that's all about alkalizing your body, balancing out your hormones and your mineral profile in your body, right? One of the major drivers, like I hear a lot of women when they say, my period is so painful. Ask yourself, how much dairy are you consuming? Then after you ask yourself that, ask yourself, how much heme iron are you consuming? If you're eating a bunch of iron, your body wants to purge that iron, especially if you are a woman, which means the more heme iron you consume, the thicker your uterine lining is going to get. And that period is going to be really heavy as a result. If you're consuming dairy, you are flooding your body with excess estrogen, and your body has to get rid of it because it's too much. Your body responds to too much of anything by trying to get rid of it as aggressively as possible. This is why diarrhea exists, right? You get too much magnesium, you get diarrhea. You get too much potassium, you get diarrhea. You get food poisoning, you get diarrhea. Out! Your body wants to get rid of it, right? Same thing happens with your menstrual cycle. So when you take the whole week or the whole month and you're accumulating all this excess estrogen, heme iron, toxins, etc., when your period hits, your body says, "It's out, get it out. It's time to flush." And it ends up being a massive dump, and it comes out in your period, and it's wild. And that's where you walk around and you smell like pennies, right? And that's pretty much where that comes from. Oh, that explains why so many women gain weight after a hysterectomy. Yeah, because your estrogen actually regulates your weight and where you store fat. So when you have healthy estrogen levels, that's where you're more likely to store your fat in your breasts, your hips, thighs, and a little in your arms, not so much around the midsection. If your estrogen dumps, usually that is followed along with high stress levels. So estrogen declines, cortisol increases, these things happen simultaneously, and then you end up having skinny arms and legs and a lot of fat retention around the torso. And then by the time you're like 45, 50 years old, you develop the buffalo hump in the back, right? And that hump in the back are fatty deposits as a result of cortisol breaking down fat and protein and even muscle lean mass tissue. And then at the end of that process, you get an accumulation of fatty deposits around the lower abdomen and the back of the neck and other areas like that, right? What foods contain heme iron? The flesh, basically meat. Fish, chicken, pigs, pork, deer, beef, all that, all of it, right? You eat meat and that's heme iron. Dairy also, heme iron. What is the best diet to avoid erectile dysfunction? Plant-based diet, raw vegan, or high raw vegan diet. Buffalo hump sounds so mean, though. They actually call it that in the scientific community. They call it the buffalo hump. And I'm like, yeah, that's mean. You gotta come up with a more complicated name than like the buffalagamous deposits or something like that, whatever kind of names they call it. So that's why guys' bodies smell more than ladies. Well, yeah, you'll smell like the excess stuff you're retaining, yeah. Yeah, you get rid of a lot of stuff when you get your period, yeah. For sure. Peace, Remsen, peace and love. What's going on? Peace and love to you. Thank you for tuning in. You just described me. What can I do to reverse high cortisol, etc.? Yeah, we got to have a whole conversation about stress management, right? When we get into that. That's me with the fat deposits in the belly and the small buffalo hump. Yeah. Eating mushrooms helps promote good prostate health. Is that true or false? It does. I don't know to what degree, but it is a contributing factor. Yeah, absolutely. Prostate health. Raw vegan diet is tremendously beneficial to prostate health. from all the data that I've seen, all the scientific data that I've seen, if you want to shrink your prostate, because that thing ballooning up, raw vegan diet, mineralizing your body, alkalizing your body, is best. It's your best shot, right? And at the root of it, really, too, is alkalizing your body. And alkalizing your body, in order to alkalize your body, you have to mineralize your body. And as you mineralize your body, you get more oxygen absorption. You get more of a balance of O2, CO2. And then you breathe better, you get more oxygen. And then more oxygen means more healing and less inflammation and et cetera, right? And that starts the healing process. Had a hysterectomy when I was 38. I'm sorry to hear that. I think if you did have a hysterectomy, you may want to look into hormone replacement therapy. You may want to talk to an endocrinologist about that and see what they tell you. Right? I would like to think that they could advise you on that better than I can, but I think it's a good thing to look into. Is coffee okay? It is. It's not one of the worst things that you can do. I'm not really much of a coffee fan. It's a mixed bag because coffee has a lot of good attributes, but also a lot of negative attributes. I'm more partial to herbal teas, to be quite honest, as opposed to coffee. Hysterectomy at 29. Jesus. So yeah, I'm gonna talk about this stuff more often, right? I talk about hysterectomies and whatnot more often. Safeguard your estrogen, folks. I gotta look more into estrogen replacement therapy. I gotta look more into it, see what I can learn about it. I gotta dig into the studies about that. I don't really feel comfortable advising too much about that because that's a bit outside of my wheelhouse, right? Right, I'm more of the diet and exercise guy, or in the mindset guy. When we start talking about hormone replacement, that's a bit outside of my wheelhouse there. I think talking to an endocrinologist about that, they would know more about that than I would. How about matcha? Yeah, I'm a big fan of matcha. I love matcha tea, or matcha in general. I read somewhere that taking antibiotics over many years is one of the causes of insulin resistance. It is one of the causes of insulin resistance, actually, because it does a lot of damage to your gut microbiome. Oh, by the way, Hashimoto's disease, Hashimoto's dairy. The dairy consumption is directly linked to excess antibody production. And the reason why this is related to Hashimoto's is because Hashimoto's is a result of antibodies attacking the thyroid. Right? So if you've got a Hashimoto's, if you've got PCOS, hypothyroidism, diabetes, avoid dairy immediately. Like the plague. You ain't got no business consuming anything dairy. Also important to know whether ovaries were removed with the hysterectomy. True. I was on estrogen therapy, but it had an increased risk of cancer, so I wanted myself off. That's interesting. I would have to look to see like what that's about. Because if you have an estrogen deficit, estrogen is a very complicated thing, right? Because there's a whole bunch of different types of estrogen that exist in your body. Right? So you're not supposed to just take estrogen. You're supposed to take it with testosterone, yeah. So the thing, too, is that what I do know about like hormone replacement therapy is when you raise estrogen, what happens is that provokes your body to produce more testosterone. So it causes a dramatic response. So you usually have to dose estrogen and testosterone together, right? It's the same thing for men. Like if a man just takes steroids with testosterone, they can develop gynecomastia, which basically they develop like these puffy nipples or whatever. And that's because their body's natural estrogen skyrockets as a result of the testosterone being increased to super physiological levels. So if you ever seen like these giant bodybuilders and they got like the bulbous ab belly and the puffy nipples, right? And I'm talking about like the puffy nipples where you can tell them they look puffy. They look they look like you can breastfeed off of them, right? They look like they're perfect for like a baby's mouth or something, right? And that's gynecomastia, right? That's not chest fat. That's not what I'm talking about. That's not chest fat. That is breast tissue formation. In other words, fat building up in the nippular area, right? Buford, what's going on? Good to see you here on the stream. Thank you for the 2 fires. What do you think about semaglutide meds like Ozempic and Mounjaro? What do I think about them? I don't know enough about them to have a strong opinion about them. What I do know is that a lot of people were using them to lose weight to the point where I think the only way you can get it now is you have to jump through some hoops in order to get a prescription from it from a doctor, because people basically it was originally intended for like people with like I think diabetes and cholesterol and high cholesterol, right? And it was very conducive to losing weight, and you had a bunch of people just trying to get this stuff in order to lose weight, and it became like a weight loss drug. So they kind of tightened the regulations around it, because the people who actually needed it for like diabetes, they couldn't get it because it was out, because people just using it as a weight loss pill. Supposedly, Ozempic decreases your appetite. I'm not a big fan of appetite suppressants, to be quite honest, because I don't know why you would want to suppress your appetite. If you're hungry, eat, right? It's not having the appetite that's the problem. It's the food choices. Suppressing your appetite is not really good. It's not much of a fix, right? So yeah, I'm not really a big fan of appetite suppressants. How about CMOS? Yes. Oh, I talked about CMOS a little bit earlier on the stream. CMOS is one of those ways where you can very effectively mineralize your body by having CMOS every morning. Yeah, my sister needs to control her diabetes and can't get it because everybody else is taking it. Well, actually, speaking of diabetes, I actually just posted not too long ago a YouTube interview of a tribe member who has had great success with reversing type 2 diabetes, getting off of medication and losing a ton of weight. So I posted a video interview, right? So you can listen to her experiences about that and her success. So that's currently up on my YouTube channel. Oh, by the way, quick plug before I move forward. I started a newsletter, right, that you can sign up for to get updates of when I'm streaming, what new content I put out, and things like that, right? So if you want to stay up to date with the type of information that I'm putting out and when I'm doing my live streams, you go to the link in my bio, and you put your name and email in to sign up for the newsletter. So you don't got to worry about the platform not giving you a notification of when I'm going live and all of that type of stuff, because you'll get it directly in your email. So you'll be able to get the videos that I put out, especially in exclusive content too, because I have videos that I haven't put on TikTok. My last 2 videos that I tried to put on TikTok, I had to delete them because they muted them. So they would remove the audio from them. They did that to the last 2 videos. So I didn't post them on TikTok. But you'll be able to get those videos and, whatever be recipes, live stream notifications, and different offers, things that I'm doing. You'll be able to get that in the newsletter. So definitely hit the link in my bio to sign up for that, to stay tapped in. If you want to find my YouTube channel, all of my content is under the same name, Tribe by Noir. Right? So the same name that I have on TikTok, I have across everything. So I post my content to TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Not really anywhere else except my personal like website, my Discord. But like for public consumption, is going to be TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. I'm going to diversify my live stream platforms as well, so I want to start streaming on YouTube as well. You'll get notifications to that through the newsletter as well when I start doing that. And that is pretty much the deal with that. Let's see. Reason the tightening up of the protocols of Ozempic and Mounjaro is actors and actresses used it for weight loss. Oh, it was actors and actresses. Damn, they must have been using a lot of it, if that's the case. This is my first time seeing you. Well, welcome to a new viewer. Glad to see you again. Likewise, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in. All right, I think I pretty much covered everything I wanted to get on the stream tonight. But yeah, I'm back. Year and a half vegan, all thanks to me. That's what I'm talking about. So that's extremely motivating. I get on here and do these streams because I'm like, I'm going to say something important that people need to hear. So got to go live and do it. April, thank you for the guacamole. Appreciate you. Year and a half vegan, all thanks to you, brother. Well, Marcus, big shout out to you. Appreciate you for tuning in. Big shout out to Don Ann for the rose. By the way, that the big shout out to Don Ann because that was her testimonial with her providing the receipts for the hard work and consistency that she's put in order to gain freedom and wellness, right? A higher standard of freedom and wellness on the journey. So definitely big shout out to you, Don Ann. Working on my high blood pressure. There you go. Big shout out to everybody staying consistent and dedicated on the path to wellness. What are the benefits of drinking lemongrass tea? Oh, also by the way, these live streams, I'm gonna upload the live stream replays and I'll put those in the email newsletter as well, so you can rewatch those. So that's another thing I'll be doing. So yeah, that newsletter will be definitely, if you're interested in the stuff that I've been saying tonight, you're going to want to get that. Hello, are there any natural cures for intracranial pressure? Intracranial pressure. When you say that, I assume it's headaches? Let me see. I haven't heard that term before. Intracranial pressure. Let's look that up. Because I feel like just referring to it as headaches is not, that's not right. Let's see. Intracranial pressure. Intracranial pressure, ICP, is the pressure exerted by fluids such as cerebral spinal fluid, CSF, inside the skull and on the brain tissue. Huh. Is there a natural cure to it? I don't know enough about it specifically to say. So that would be something I would have to look into because I don't actually know, like, could that be corrected by diet? What is even the cause of it? It depends on what the cause is. Is this like a congenital issue or what? I'm not sure. So I would have to really look into that. Causes inflammation of the brain. Yep. How do you get the newsletter? You go to my profile right up here. You hit the link in my bio. And then you basically just sign up for the newsletter there. So yeah, I got to look that up about their intracranial pressure. I feel like that is something that would be a result of blunt force trauma. like a physical damage to the actual brain matter or skull, right? But I'm not really entirely sure. I'd have to really look that up. So yeah, let's see. I would imagine, I would assume an anti-inflammatory diet would help, but I don't know what that would do to the excess fluid buildup. I don't know if you can reduce the excess fluid buildup through a dietary strategy. It probably could help. I just don't know to what degree. I don't know. Let's see. Yep, the link is in my bio and my link tree. It can be, yes. Share with the crowd. What have you found? Do you offer one-on-one coaching? Yes, I do. You can sign up for that through the link in my bio as well. So yeah, I would say to request a call with me, and we can talk one-on-one. We got like a full 60-minute call and go over your issues. You can do either or. You can book a call with me, or you can sign directly up for coaching as well. Good night, folks. Remember, health is wealth. True. Gigi, thank you for tuning into the stream. Get some rest. Stay on top of that sleep quality. Remsen, you started to answer the benefits of lemongrass tea, but got sidetracked. Benefits of lemongrass tea. Lemongrass tea is very good for mental health, mental alertness, high blood pressure, right? So it's very good for lowering your blood pressure. It's good for anxiety. I think it also helps with insulin sensitivity. What else? Those are the main takeaways that I remember about lemongrass. It's also good for your gut health too, also, if I'm not mistaken, for your gut microbiome. Thank you. May God bless you. Mashallah. Thank you for tuning in. How much is the 60-minute call? $50. Let's see. Did we do it, folks? Did we get through all of it? We got any other interesting questions? Benefits of cinnamon. Cinnamon is actually very good for diabetics. People who are diabetic, I'll be putting cinnamon in like everybody plan. A teaspoon a day, right? Ceylon cinnamon. Cinnamon is very good for your blood pressure, insulin sensitivity. It helps to reverse diabetes, control blood sugar. Those are the main benefits that I use it for specifically. It is also largely anti-inflammatory. Yeah, well, I said Ceylon. Yeah. All right, folks. I think we did it. It was a good stream. Good to be back. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And having said that, I'm going to sign off. Got to bring my day to a close, but before I do that, I got a lot of steps to get in. Because I've been in this chair all day, folks. So it's time for me to get moving before the night is out. But yeah, I'll send out a notification for the next stream, what the topics will be about in the newsletter. But, more than likely, of course, it's back to the normal regular schedule. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern. Good night, folks. Get to bed. And, yeah, have a good week.